What's up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here with
Gershwan.
And we're back at it to answer your questions in another episode of For the Greater
Wow.
Did you just mute that? You little asshole. You call yourself an orc, but you muted that portion of the Greater Wall? You should be ashamed of yourself. This is a video series where we answer the question to you, the viewer. We were talking to a specific viewer just a minute ago. That's to show you our connection with our viewers. But anyways, if you want your question answered, please comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get to those first, and you could ask us about anything. This is a show where we just answer your questions. So this question comes from Ryan Carter. What do the Tau Caste dictate civilian life? Or how do the Tau Caste dictate civilian life? What caste would a McDonald's employee be? Or would it all be run by drones? So what's the daily life of a Tau civilian, basically?
Yeah, basically you're going to be put into one of four castes. You could either be the Earth caste, which are like the builders, the engineers and all that. You got the Water caste, which is like the diplomats. You got the Air caste, which is basically transportation, they fly planes, and then you got the soldiers, the Fire caste.
Yep, and you have to remember what type of society the Tau society is, because a lot of people say that they're communist, but in terms of the civilian life, they're more totalitarian, so they're more fascist. So you just have to look back at the lifestyles of like the Italians back in World War II, or even I guess you could say Soviet Union, where everything was for the war effort, not so much for like
yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what that looks like. So a McDonald's worker would be Earth caste. Right. You said, right? Mm-hmm. And the life of a regular Tau Earth caste person would be a lot like. There's a documentary of the Apple factories in China. So where your iPhone gets made, it's basically an entire campus where the workers have their dorms there, they live there, and then they go to work there. So a regular Earth caste member would have something like that, where they would have their own dorms provided by the ethereals. Right. And basically, you would work your 10 hours on whatever material needs to be created for the war effort. You would go back home in that same campus, and you would live amongst, like, it's a communal living. So you'll have shared bathrooms, shared dining rooms, all that kind of stuff. So you'll have 6 hours of free time where you would do Tau things. Like clean your hooves, or I don't know, but yeah, the daily life of a Tau Earth caste, which would be, are the Earth caste the most abundant?
I believe so, yeah, because they need, somehow the ethereals are making these guys the most abundant, since they need that extra push for the war efforts. So yes.
Yeah. So basically, it would be the weekend is the only place that you have off. But it all depends on what type of planet you have, because you have to remember that 7-day weekdays do not exist in different planets, which is something we never talk about in Warhammer 40K. The idea that a day is not the same in every planet. So how does that work? But anyways, yeah, that's the daily life.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Good question though, very thought-provoking.
Yes. Next question. You going?
Yeah. Tech Inquisitor Ryan. What music would a noise marine like more? Dubstep or techno?
Dubstep.
Yeah, I'd go with dubstep.
Because they can pop, lock, and drop it.
Ooh.
Zozo Ballsucker. What if the Flood from Halo entered Warhammer 40K universe? Is it going to be bad news for everyone who's in the 40K universe? No.
It would definitely not be bad news for a, what do you call it? A Necron. Because as far as I know, the Flood takes over biological entities. Necrons, they got necrodermis, so they don't got to worry about that.
Yep. Next question.
This one's by The Livend. Do you think the Emperor will eventually become an actual god existing in the warp? And would that mean the end of Terra, or would he close the warp rift under the Imperial Palace?
So we've talked about this before. Do we think that the Emperor will become a god? Probably not.
Yeah, it's a little too cliche, and I feel like GW likes to bring in crazy surprises in there.
Right.
Yeah.
This next question comes from Googly Doodly. Will you do a Thunder Warriors 40 facts? If you check out our 40 facts on
The Unification Wars?
Yep, those are all pretty much there. I find the subject really interesting, considering that the Emperor, praise may he be, made shitty decisions to kill them off, but also their volatile nature, which kind of made it a necessity. And for another question, if the chapter of Space Marines or the Adeptus Mechanicus were to find an STC or something similar from form of database describing how to create Thunder Warriors, would they create such a chapter? I am unaware if a Thunder Warrior requires a gene seed, which if it would make it impossible. So the Thunder Warriors, an STC is Age of Strife. No, Dark Age of Technology. Thunder Warriors were the Unification War. So actually, the information to create a Thunder Warrior is found in the Imperial Palace, guarded by the Adeptus Custodes. So would they ever get into the hands of the Adeptus Mechanicus? No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
Yeah.
Arcantos. Do any Space Marines frequently fight without their armor, or less of it? Just off the top of my head, the Scouts, since they got scout armor, which lets them be quicker and more maneuverable. As far as that, I don't think so.
Yeah, right. Because it's kind of like going to work without your equipment.
Yeah.
You'll probably get sent home.
And if I sent home, you die.
Yeah. The Livid. Nope, you already read The Livid. Do you have another one?
This is by Lord Inquisitor. Do you think Slanesh's weakness is bagpipes? I mean, the 10th first and only used them, and I don't remember any of them falling to Slanesh. I bet it's the bagpipes. Always the bagpipes.
Kilts. Actually, kilts.
That's a very good reason. Because you can't look fashionable wearing a kilt.
Exactly.
Or can you?
Mm-hmm. Anybody who wears a kilt, instantly, pleasure is completely gone. I'm just kidding. Yeah. If Be'lakor was the first demon prince, who is said to be as old as creation, which chaos god could have created him? Since the warp was relatively calm in the beginning, and there were no gods to speak of until later.
As far as I know,
It's all three, isn't it?
yeah, it could have been Khorne, Nurgle, or Zeech. Because Slanesh was made, because of the Outdoor.
Yeah. Next question.
This one's by Alexander Schneider. So there's a bunch of Nurglings running around in my backyard, and I tried spraying them with the hose, but that didn't seem to do anything. I'm still in my 3rd month waiting period for my heavy bolter, and my chainsword's teeth are all filed down after I had to shoo away a Killakan last week. What do you recommend I do?
Worship Papa Nurgle.
But then he'll just get more, and they'll get bigger.
Yeah, but embrace it.
Yeah. Just say, if you can't beat them, join them.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. This question comes from BMW or BM Merlin. BW Merlin. Damn, I can't read. If the Tyranids' High Fleet moves near the Eye of Terror, will their shadow of the warp start to cause the eye to shrink near where the Tyranids are revealing the Crone worlds, and possibly, over time, closing the eye altogether? I don't think they're that strong.
Yeah, I don't think the Eye of Terror will ever close since it's such a big rift. Maybe if you try poking it, it'll kind of shut a little bit.
It's just a blink.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a wink because it's just one eye.
Yeah. Next question.
Mark Content. How much wah does a war boss roar when a roar boss does roar wah?
Trick question. Because a war boss doesn't need to wah. Actually, he does. So a lot?
You were the one that got tricked.
Yeah. Lord Inquisitor. Do you think No. You already read that.
Big Bug Mania 1. Do they have pizza in 40K? And if so, do they have pineapple on them?
Yeah, there is pizza in Warhammer 40K, and yes, they do have pineapple. I don't understand why pineapple is such a big deal on pizza.
Yeah.
Hawaiian pizza.
It's really good.
And it's been, like, ever since I've been going to any type of pizzeria, they always have Hawaiian style. Like, that's one of the
what do you call
specialties.
it? Yeah, there you go.
The internet is a weird place. Have your pizza with milk. That's weird.
That is weird. I've seen people like dip their pizza. I'm like, what?
Or ketchup in pizza. That's gross.
Like I could tolerate barbecue sauce on pizza because you have like the chicken and barbecue pizza. I forgot what that's called. Margarita, if I'm wrong. I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
But yeah. This question comes from Corbin Gabriel. Do you think the Tau will ever get common melee units, like battle suits with swords? They already have it, don't they?
Yes, but I think he's saying more like widespread, like giving them an actual piece of weaponry that they could equip on it. I want to, but I don't think so. Since the Tau are kind of more devoted to shooting, I don't think they'll get something that'll make them great in close combat, especially since that'll make an overpowered army even more OP.
And he says, do you think they would be energy-based weapons or physical weapons like a Space Marine?
Definitely energy-based. I feel like physical stuff for the Tau is kind of rudimentary, like they're long past that technologically.
Next question.
Aaron Hannock. In the grim darkness of the 42nd millennium, do Australians still shitpost? I think the real question here is, are there still Australians?
Yep.
Yeah.
Carol Kiwatsky. What would be a new type of orc oddboy specialist if you could add one? Would it be a mix of Augustine type, like a pig doc, a specialized subtype, a warheads, warp boys, or some new base type? What are your opinions for both of you? So you know what an odd boy is, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a boy that's odd.
Yes.
He deviates from the standard orc. Maybe an odd boy that has wings. Maybe make the orcs fly. I don't know.
For a love of, well, that's what the Storm Boys are.
Yeah, they love the
flying and order. That's a tough one. I wish I had more time to think. But yeah, just an odd boy that increases type of warp capabilities, I think would be best.
An odd boy that commits suicide. Well, all orcs do, really, since they love fighting so much.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll leave it with the suicide orc. Next question.
Which Primarch is or was the best rapper?
Which what?
Primarch is the best rapper.
Oh, everybody knows that the best rapper was Vulcan.
Yeah, that's true.
For obvious reasons.
He's got them fire beats.
Mm-hmm. Golden Bird 02. Who do you think would win in a fight? A squad of Warframes or a squad of Space Marines? What's a Warframe? Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
It sounds scary though.
We'll leave that there.
Do Lugst. I want to get into playing Warhammer. Would playing the Imperial Guard be an okay race to start off with?
If you like to lose. And yeah, I wouldn't.
No, I definitely would not go with the Guard. They're too intricate because you got all these like Vox commands. You've got a different. It's honestly like a completely different setup as compared to most armies. Because you've got like tanks that could be your HQ instead of actual characters. So yeah, I feel like maybe start with Marines and then go into Imperial Guard once you get the hang of the game and everything.
Because you could always ally them.
That's true.
DOW234. What is the most hated orc clan? The most hated orc clan,
The Pharaoh Orcs.
No, not even them. I think it's either the Blood Axes because they ally themselves to other races.
Mercenaries.
And they just don't act like orcs. Or the
Bad Moons.
Not the Bad Moons. The blue something. The Death Skulls. The Death Skulls because they steal. Next question.
Shark Wolf Connor. Who will win between the Flood? Oh, we already did that.
I have another question from Tactical Dreadnought. Oh shit, is it that long?
That's what she said.
What is the difference between Indomitus pattern and Cataphractii pattern Terminator armor? Does one have advantage over the other? Do you know this?
Yes and no. Basically, it goes in order of progression. So think of it as like you had your Space Marine armor Mark 1, you have Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4. They have their pluses and their minuses. So for example, Cataphractii armor may be better in defense, but it slows you down more than like the Indomitus pattern. We'll get more into this once we cover the actual armors of 40K and 30K.
And then, well, I should have read the question. Does one have advantage over the other? We already said that. The same could be asked about the different Dreadnought patterns like Leviathan, Mortis, and Contemptor.
Right, yeah. Contemptor are basically the all-around Dreadnought back in 30K. Doretio, I believe that's the one that has more firepower, so he's more stationary. And then the Leviathan is just like a hulking behemoth, good for breaking down walls and fortifications.
Cool. Next question.
This one is by Brandon Ottman. Will we ever see Gork and Mork? We see the Chaos Gods, the Elder Gods, the Emperor, but the Orc Gods had yet to ever show up in anything.
Yeah, they have. They talk to God School Thraka all the time.
Oh, I think he's talking about like actual physical like representations of them.
Oh, we don't really have actual physical representations of the Chaos Gods. Those are just concepts. Like the whole thing with Tzeentch having an eye in their belly or whatever. That's just a possibility. But because they're warp gods, they don't really have
a form.
Yeah. So, will there ever be a drawing from them? Probably.
Yeah, just send us a pic that you guys maybe drew yourself up.
Yep.
Maybe make me and Gersh into Gork and
Mork. You guys sent some really cool fan art. Remember, we have a P.O. box too, so if you ever want to send us fan art, it's down in the description. It's like P.O. box something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's all we got.
Thank you so much for sending the questions our way. If you guys want to support us a little bit more, jump on over to Patreon. A simple $1 a month helps us create more videos.
That's right. Don't forget to hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well, where we put up more epic 40K content. That's all we got for you guys today. So, I am the Sound Alchemist.
Gersh1!
That is the window back there, which we do not want to forget, and we are out of here.
Yeah. You know how me and Ye do. Yeah. Real people walking the streets is talking often, it's beef, the city never does. People walking, talking, they sleep, cold sweats and wet dreams on how to get green.